Hey there, and welcome to another logiccloud tutorial. Today we will have a look on how easily we can run the logiccloud control runtime on a WAGO Compact Controller 100. So let's get started. First we will create a new project, but this time we will import an existing sample project that we have prepared, which is also linked in the video description. So I will click on import and upload the project file. Give it the name. And for the platform, I will select the ARM7, as this is the platform of the WAGO controller. Once the project is imported, we can have a look at what we have prepared in this sample project. So we have a program with the defined inputs and outputs. We have a counter. We have a running light with the digital outs. And we convert analog inputs and analog outputs accordingly so that we can use that. We have set the access variables, and this is especially important for the WAGO CC100, because so when we go to our documentation and under approved devices, there is the CC100, and apart from the installation instructions, the interesting part comes under runtime. So in order for us that we can access the onboard inputs and outputs, we need to give the variables or the access variables the correct types and the correct names. So in order to use the analog inputs, we have to use AI1, AI2 of type integer, then DI1 to 8 as booleans for the digital ins, and same for the temperature ints as real, analog outputs, integers, digital outputs, booleans. And if we name our variables like that, so here we have the variables for the digital inputs, as you can see in the program, then we can access them if the name of the access variable corresponds. So that's all what we need to do. We don't need to map anything in the data connection, so just give the access variables the correct names. Additionally, we also have prepared an HMI, so with all the inputs, digital outputs, digital inputs, analog ins, analog outs, and the temperature inputs. So with no further ado, we can use that and run a build. And once this is finished, we can go on and create a runtime. We will use our build. We will give the runtime name and leave the rest as we have it. Perfect. Next, we need to create a device. So we'll go under devices, we'll add a device. We'll select WAGO CC100, use remote channel, and I don't know the serial number, but I'll just use 1234 for now. We'll save it. And now we have to go to our device to run the container. So if we go back to the documentation and then look for Docker, then we can go to install via Docker, and here we have the docker run command, so that we can copy. And then let me bring up a terminal. We can connect to our controller, and then we can check that Docker is installed with docker-v, so we have the version, and then we can check if anything is running with docker ps. Here we can see we already have an image running, so I don't need to run it, but for the sake of this video, you copy this command and then you put it in the terminal and you run like that. And here I get the error because I already have it running. So once the image runs, we can go to the IP of the device on port 8080 and we get to the install wizard. back in the portal, we copy the device token, paste it, and upload it. Once we get to the login page, so the pairing was successful, we can log in with the default credentials, admin and logiccloud. And now we see the device overview page. We don't have a runtime assigned yet, so that's the next we need to do. We go back to the portal, assign a runtime, and leave the license key empty. And then we can install the runtime right away. And if we have a look on the local UI, we can see that the device is installing the runtime as well. So we'll just wait a little bit and let this finish. And now that we can see that the installation was successful, can see that our demo stops in 2 hours from now, and everything is running as it should. So from here we can access the HMI by clicking on this button. But bear in mind, first time you install a runtime on the device, it might take a while before the HMI is accessible, but it does not have any impacts on the performance itself. So we will just have a look. It's still not working, so we will wait a little bit and then come back. So now we can see that the HMI has loaded. We can already see a little bit of amplitude in the analog ins. But we can also trigger the running light as we have defined it in the code. We can interact with the analog outputs. So if we have something attached to the analog outputs, it will receive the values accordingly. So this is it for today's tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it and stay tuned for the next ones. Thank you very much.